What's up everybody, welcome back, Krishna here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a really interesting version of the triple Eeveelution team comp, basically this time consisting of Glaceon, Espeon and Sylveon. Now right off the bat, just by looking at it, I'm pretty sure you can say that this team is extremely weak to steel, which is fine. I mean, again, this team is not viable as far as climbing rank is concerned, but this is the season of Spice, so it's as good a time as any to try it out. Probably Umbreon would be slightly more viable in place of Glaceon or Espeon. But then again, Umbreon is super meta and requires a ton of Excel candy to build. So I just wanted to try out a few off-meta picks. So there's some actually good wins to start off with, but then we get absolutely destroyed as we move along here. So we have a Glaceon into an Excadrill here. Steel type right off the bat, but this is okay because this is also a part ground type, which is going to take neutral damage from the ice moves. I'm going to shield the first Rock Slide because that would probably one-shot because Glaceon is pretty glassy. So I'm going to go for the icy win here, and then it does get the shield. Like I said, Excadrill is also pretty glassy, so they're going to shield that. And I don't have to shield this because we got the debuff off. This Rock Slide will not KO, still does massive damage. And I'm going to be able to get this next Icy win. So we're either going to win Switch or Shield advantage, right? But we win Switch advantage, which is crucial. But anyways, I decided to basically just switch into my Espeon against this Magnezone because I don't want this Magnezone to get ahead on energy. Now, Magnezone is, I mean, they have the second Steel type in their team, which is absolutely terrible. Luckily, I called the Mirror Shot Shield Bait. And also, this Magnezone is running Charge Beam as the fast move, which is pretty surprising. But anyways, we no shield the next Mirror Shot as well, and I'm gonna go for the Shadow Ball. I'm really hoping against hope they let this go through, and they let that go through, which is huge. And they have a Giratina in the back, and I'm gonna be able to come in with Sylveon. And yeah, it's just one of the very few Pokemon that we could have managed to beat, right? They are like, that was like a double steel Giratina team. It was like an AAB line, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, moving into the second battle here, we have a Togekiss in the lead. Typically, when people have Togekiss in the lead, they're gonna have an anti-steel in the back, so they probably have a poison, fire, or beg your pardon, they probably have a ground type or something in the back, right? Which can cover up against poison, fire, or steel types. So again, they shield the Icy Wind, which is understandable, and I'm going to let this go through. I'm glad they didn't farm down. I'm okay losing the lead because again, we saw how dangerous Espeon is, especially with an energy advantage, right? So I'm going to be able to farm down even though we took so much damage from Charm, and they actually come into Swampert expected, right? This is their anti-steel. So anyways, I'm going to go for the Psychic here, just lands for massive neutral damage, and at this point, I'm going to switch into my Sylveon, and they have an Abomasnow. That makes sense because both Togekiss and Swampert are weak to Venusaur, so Abomasnow is probably their Venusaur counter, and I don't have to shield any of this because I'm more worried about the Hydro Cannon coming from Swampert. Obviously, this is too soon to be an energy ball, so I'm going to let this go through as well. Just going to be a Weather Ball here, and then at this point, I'm just going to go for the Psyshock right now, right? This is again going to force the shield from the Abomasnow as it does there, and again, right now we're able to get this Abomasnow down to probably Confusion farm down range. So I'm actually going to let this go through as well. I need to preserve the shields for the Swampert because Swampert has a lot of loaded energy, right? Again, at this point, I'm going to have to start shielding. I'm going to have to shield this Weather Ball, and hopefully Swampert doesn't have two Hydro Cannons here. They make a switch into their Swampert. Luckily, we sneak the Confusion through, which means that we're probably only one Confusion away from the Psychic. I'm going to be able to get to the Psychic. I'm just going to go for it because the Swampert is pretty close to a move. And the Psychic is going to take out the Swampert, and Abomasnow is going to go down to one Confusion there. So again, surprisingly, Espeon really putting in work when it's actually not as viable as far as PvP is concerned. So moving into the next battle here, we met with a Jellicent, not the best lead. I mean, I do have to stay in because Espeon has a pretty poor matchup against it, and unfortunately, my opponent is lagging quite a bit. So I'm actually going to wait it out a little bit to make sure, to see if they come back, but they do come back, which is good. But at this point, I'm going to go for the Icy Wind debuff here. They're probably not going to shield. Again, we face a little bit of lag again, which is pretty unfortunate. But anyways, I'm going to actually build up a little bit extra. This is like really unfortunate because they lag quite a bit. I was trying to actually switch into my Espeon, but they make a switch into their Talonflame, which is not good. I'm going to let this go through. We should live a Flame Charge. Hopefully, barely we survive the Flame Charge. I'm going to be able to get off the Psychic here. Unfortunately, they sneak the Incinerate through, which means that this Incinerate will KO as soon as the Psychic gets shielded, right? But I'm going to come in with my Glaceon. We have a lot of loaded energy. Going to go for the Water Pulse here. I'm going to do super effective damage, and we managed to sneak the Ice Shot through, which is great because at this point, I can shield this up, and then Incinerate is not going to register, right? So I'm going to be able to farm it down, and they have a Scrafty in the back, and we have a Sylveon, and this is GG's. Again, the thing is that even though we felt like Jellicent lagged a little bit in that opening sort of matchup, they actually had quite a bit of energy, which makes me think it probably was just a visual lag or something. But as you can see, they are able to get to the second Shadow Ball here. This is going to do a significant amount of damage to Sylveon, but we're going to be able to Charm down here. And then Scrafty comes back in. I'm going to go for the Psyshock because Even if I need to land another charge move from Glaceon, I just want their shields out of the way. But nothing at this point is going to KO because Sylveon is pretty tanky and Foul Play is resisted as well. So I'm going to be able to charm down here. I think I got a little bit lucky there, granted, because they lagged a little bit. And we actually started off with some decent wins. But like I said, reality is going to really start setting in because we're going to get absolutely destroyed in some of these battles here. These were like kind of really hilarious because this team gets absolutely dominated by certain Pokemon there, right? So we have a Glaceon into an Umbreon. This is, again, not a good lead at all because Umbreon is by far the more superior Eeveelution. It's going to easily outbulk and outpace Glaceon to these charge moves. So I'm just going to go for the Icy Wind here to try and debuff this thing, but it really doesn't make too much of a difference because there's no way we're going to win this matchup, right? I'm just going to try and debuff it as much as I can. The unfortunate part about this is that because they have Umbreon in the lead, they're absolutely for sure going to have an anti-Charmer in the back. And also an anti-fighter probably, and that's not good news for Sylveon because they probably have a fire or a poison or a steel type in the back, right? Typically most Umbreons do tend to pair with Talonflame, which is actually a pretty solid core. So I'm going to come in with my Sylveon here and I'm going to try and charm down. I don't really have to shield any of this because this is a double debuffed Foul Play, which is resisted as well. Surprisingly, they went for Foul Play, but anyways, we're going to be able to charm down. And as expected, they have a steel type in the back. Immediately switching into my Espeon, and there's their anti-fighter, which is an Altaria, and again an XL Altaria against a glass cannon like Espeon. I mean, this is this is absolutely terrible. I mean, going for the Psychic here, this is again gonna get the shield from the Altaria probably, as it does there. The reason I keep going for Psychic, even though Psychic and Shadow Ball are pretty much the same energy cost, is because it has stab, and also you have the chance of getting the defense debuff. And I'm not going to shield this. I can't afford to shield this. Hopefully I can charm down before they can get to another Sky Attack. I'm barely able to charm down here, and I have only one win condition. I need to go for the Moonblast and hopefully get an attack drop. But even then, it's going to be very, very difficult to pull this off, right? They do let the Moonblast go through, and at this point, it's going to be very, very tricky. We managed to sneak an extra charm through, and I'm not going to shield this. Luckily, they don't have Flash Cannon. I mean, which is understandable because most Melmetals in the Ultra League, I guess it's better off having Rock Slide in the Ultra League, right? Whereas I guess Flash Cannon has a little bit more play in the Masters. But anyways, we're able to sneak an extra charm through, but it doesn't matter. Melmetal is absolutely loaded and it's going to take out the Sylveon there. So again, we managed to pull it pretty close in spite of, you know, basically getting hard countered somewhat there. But anyways, I think it's just going to get harder and harder here, to be completely honest. So moving into the next battle here, we have a Glaceon into a Walrein. Not the best lead. Once again here, there's nothing we can do against Walrein, especially with this moveset. The only neutral move that Glaceon potentially has is a Last Resort, which is also a community remove, but I'm running Water Pulse on this. But I'm going to get off the attack debuff here just to make sure that the Earthquake doesn't one-shot. But they actually go for the Icicle Spear Shield Bait, which is great. And this is just going to be another Icicle Spear because it was too soon to be Earthquake. And I'm going to soak it up and then switch into my Sylveon here right now. And they have a Trevenant in the back, which is expected. Walrein and Trevenant is a pretty solid core for the Open Ultra League. And this is, again, not a great matchup for Espeon at all. I'll let that go through. Hopefully, I can get to a move. I'm not able to get to a move. This is not good at all. Immediately going to come in with my Glaceon and go for the Icy Wind to put some shield pressure on this Trevenant. And they do shield that, which is surprising. So this is okay. I'm going to fully let this go through. I'm going to trust in Sylveon. Hopefully, Sylveon is going to be able to close it out, right? So I'm going to come in with my Sylveon and hopefully charm all the way down. We managed to sneak that extra charm there. So this is going to KO. I'm not going to shield this debuffed Seed Bomb here. I'm going to save up both shields. And they have a Swampert. So this is actually a pretty solid team with Walrein, Trevenant, and Swampert. A pretty solid core there. I mean, kind of probably slightly weak to Obstagoon, but overall, yeah, but it's going to be very, very difficult to win this one, right? Because both Swampert and Walrein, both can just absolutely spam those charge moves. And unfortunately for Sylveon, it's going to take forever to get to the charge moves. My only win condition here is to charm the Swampert all the way down to a point where I can land a Moonblast on the Walrein. But, yeah. We do live the Hydro Cannon. Unfortunately, we're going to get much shot down there. So, I mean, probably if we had a little bit more HP, I probably could have executed that. I could have probably charmed it all the way down and gotten off a Moonblast against the Walrein. But those were actually kind of close battles, you can say. But, yeah, things, like I said, just keep getting harder. So we have a Venusaur on the lead. Again, it's a good thing. You want to definitely see Venusaur on the lead. 2 out of these 3 Pokemon actually do pretty well against Venusaur. But they make a really nice switch into their Golduck to catch the Icy Wind, right? And that's fine. I'm actually going to build up a little bit of extra energy. And I'm going to catch the Cross Chop on the Sylveon here. This is a resisted debuffed Cross Chop's hardly going to do anything, and also those Confusions are not going to do that much damage, right? And I can just completely charm down this Golduck here. Even if they go for the Ice Beam, this is again not going to do too much because it's debuffed. And we're going to be able to basically charm this thing all the way down and come out of this matchup with Psyshock, which is crucial because if the Venusaur comes back in, I'm going to be able to get off the Psyshock here, which is going to do super effective damage against Venusaur. And they surprisingly let that go through, which is really interesting because at this point, I'm actually going to shield this because we sneak that extra charm through. This charm is going to KO the Venusaur. Hopefully, whatever they have in the back is also weak to charm, right? Actually, doesn't KO. We needed to get an extra charm there. And they have a Charizard, which is not exactly weak to charm. So this is actually going to be slightly tricky because they still have 2 shields. I'm going to go for the Psyshock here. And then immediately switching my Glaceon and going for the Icy Wind because now I can get off the debuff and they can't even switch out to clear it, right? Because Charizard is their final Pokemon. And then they can't really farm down either. They're going to go for a move. This is going to be a Dragon Claw, which is going to take out the Glaceon. And then it's pretty straightforward from here because I can basically come in with my Espeon and I'm going to be able to Confusion down. But unfortunately, they get to a move. This is going to be a Blast Burn. Yeah, because we sneak the extra Confusion through, that's going to KO there. So, I mean, a pretty interesting team. They had a Venusaur, a Golduck, and a Charizard. But yeah. Like I said, initially I was actually surprised with the number of wins I was able to pull through with this team. But then again, like I said, I just got lucky with the team comps because, yeah, a reality check kind of starts here, I guess. So we have Glaceon into a Swampert here. Again, a pretty bad lead because Swampert, is really going to outpace Glaceon to those charge moves. Luckily, I'm able to get off the Icy Wind here. They probably overfarmed a little bit there. Actually ends up being a CMP, which is good. I'm not going to shield this. They're probably going to get to 2 Hydro Cannons before we can get to another Icy Wind. As they do that, this Hydro Cannon, even though debuffed, it will definitely KO. But I'm just going to come in with my Espeon and farm all the way down here. So I'm just going to come in with my Espeon. I'm going to try and do as much damage with Confusion as possible. And then hopefully I can come out of this matchup with close to a Shadow Ball or a Psychic, right? But they actually make a switch into that Wall Rain, which is okay. I'm going to go straight for the Psychic right now. It's going to do massive damage against this Wall Rain. And at this point, with Confusion is doing so much damage that they're going to be forced to throw, which is exactly what we need. I'm going to basically let this go through. And then I'm going to come into my Sylveon and hopefully Sylveon is going to be able to close it out, right? I'm expecting them to have a Trevenant in the back. When I was playing it, I was expecting a Trevenant in the back. So I'm actually going to let this go through because, I mean, Walrein and Trevenant is a pretty solid core, right? But anyways, they actually have their own Sylveon in the back. So that is very, very unfortunate because we definitely, I mean, we can't go up against Pokemon which do massive fast move pressure because there's no point saving up 2 shields in this matchup. Yeah, there's just not a lot that I can do there. They're going to be able to charm down. So that's very, very unfortunate with that team comp there. But they also had a Swampert in the back, so we just really didn't have too much play there. Moving into the next game here, we have a Glaceon into a Dragonite, picking up the dream lead. This is what you want to see. They make a switch into their Cresselia. This is kind of a tricky situation, so I'm actually going to throw the Icy Wind and then switch into my Espeon to basically catch a move here. So immediately switching into my Espeon, I'm going to catch a move. This is probably going to be a Moonblast. I'm not going to shield this because it's debuffed. And hopefully, I'm hoping that I can get to a Shadow Ball before they can get to another move. But they're probably going to be able to get to a move here. And this is okay. I'm really hoping that Sylveon can tank a Moonblast. We barely survived the Moonblast. Confusion goes through. The Shadow Ball is loaded. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball here. Does massive super effective damage. Takes out the Cresselia. And this is where I make a bit of a mistake because they actually come into their Talonflame, which is expected, right? If they have a Dragonite on the lead, they're obviously going to have an anti-charm, anti-ice in the back. And this is a real problem for both Sylveon and Glaceon here. I'm going to let the first Flame Charge go through. And I'm going to actually go, at this point, I'm going to try and go for the Psyshock. I really need to make sure they don't sneak an extra Incinerate through. I do have to shield this because these Incinerates are absolutely adding up right now. And they go for the Flame Charge. I'm trying to go for the Psyshock. And unfortunately, we don't get the deny. They get the Incinerate through. And this is not looking good at all because as you can see, those Incinerates are absolutely chunking. At this point, I realize I'm not going to be able to get to another move, but unfortunately, I'm kind of too late to switch out. I'm going to go into the Glaceon. I'm going to shield this. I'm really hoping that I can get to an Icy Wind here, but unfortunately, they're able to get to another Flame Charge. Talonflame is absolutely just roasting my entire team here. And then Sylveon is just going to go down to Incinerate there. I mean, shoutouts to Talonflame. That thing is an absolute monster in the Open Ultra League. It is so incredibly powerful, especially when it gets that constant attack buffs with Flame Charge. With that Incinerate combination, oh my god, it is incredible. Also, it's very, very difficult for this team to deal with. Unless, I mean, Espeon probably has the best matchup against it, but even Espeon is extremely glassy. Again, picking up a pretty terrible lead there against a Politoed, so immediately switching into my Glaceon, into my Espeon, beg your pardon. Met with a Greedent. Again, absolutely terrible once again because Crunch is going to do so much super effective damage. I'm going to go for the Psychic here. And that does a decent amount of damage. It actually does quite a bit of damage against Greedent because considering how tanky Greedent is. And because they're doing so much damage with those Confusions, they're not going to be able to farm down. They're going to burn some of their energy, which is good. But they have back-to-back moves here. I'm going to basically come into the Glaceon and use it like a sponge to soak up these moves. Glaceon doesn't really have... I feel like preserving Sylveon is... is just like it's going to serve me better than preserving Glaceon, right? Glaceon, I'm just going to use it as a sponge to basically soak up all these charge moves. I'm going to let this go through as well. It's going to be a weather ball, and then as soon as this comes through, I'm going to immediately switch into my into my Sylveon, and hopefully whatever they have in the back is weak to charm as well. I'm not going to shield the first weather ball. Isn't going to do too much damage, although it does come from a Polita, does a decent amount of damage, and they have an Alolan Ninetales in the back. Luckily, this Alolan Ninetales is not a charm Alolan Ninetales. So they're not applying that much pressure with their fast moves. So I'm going to go for the Psyshock here. This is still going to be really tricky because, again, both Alolan Ninetales and Politoed are going to be able to spam those weather balls, right? And unfortunately, it's going to take forever for Sylveon to get to those charge moves. I'm going to shield this up once again here. And at this point, I'm going to have to sack the Glaceon, right? I'm going to immediately switch into my Glaceon to catch this weather ball. But still, it's not looking good because... yeah, I'm going to be able to come in and then I'm going to try and charm down. But they make a switch into their Politoed. Going to go for the Psyshock here. They still have a shield, unfortunately. So they're going to shield that up and they're going to be easily able to get to another weather ball here. So like I said, I mean, with both Alolan Ninetales and Politoed in the same team, going up against Pokemon like Sylveon and Espeon, which take forever to get to their charge moves, even though you're applying so much fast move pressure, it's like really difficult to win those games there. So moving into the next battle here, as you can see, we're like on a string of losses here. I'm actually kind of like 0-3 in this set right now, I believe. And we're up against a Machamp. I think, yeah, we're up against a Machamp here. This is absolutely terrible. And they make a switch into that Oranguru. So this is such a bad matchup for Espeon because Oranguru completely walls Espeon because both Psychic and Ghost moves are resisted. I was hoping that I would live that Foul Play to get off a Psychic. But unfortunately, Foul Play one-shots. And that's just simply because of how terrible Espeon is. Again, I'm going to come in with my Glaceon, go for the Icy Wind, using it as a sponge to soak up all these moves here. It's probably just going to be a foul play, which is not going to KO. I should be able to get to another Icy Wind here and take out this Oranguru. Yeah, this is going to take out the Oranguru here, and hopefully whatever they have in the back, Sylveon can clean up, right? They come back with their Machamp. They have a Nidoqueen in the back, and I'm just going to top left there. So this is like, that is straight hard counter city. I mean, what are the odds, right? That's like a Machamp, an Oranguru, and a Nidoqueen. That's like hard counter city. That is like the perfect hard counter line that you could probably come up for this line. It was almost designed to kind of beat this team in some way. So again, picking up an absolutely terrible lead against an S-Cap. This is not a great matchup for Espeon as well because Mega Horn will one-shot. And to make things worse, they make a switch into the Alolan Muk. So this thing's absolutely looking great, right? This is like beautiful. Going for the Psychic here, both Psychic and Shadow Ball are single resisted because of the Poison Dark typing. And they basically loaded up on a bunch of energy. They threw like out at almost, they probably have 100 energy right now. So once again, bringing in the Glaceon to soak up whatever moves this Alolan Muk has to throw. They're probably going to get to another Dark Pulse before we can get to an Icy Wind. This made I make a bit of a mistake. I decided to click on the Icy Wind, and unfortunately we lose CMP there. So another mistake I make is shielding up the Glaceon. I probably should have just let it go through because at this point we just waste a bunch of energy there. And then S-Cap is going to come back in, and I'm actually going to stay in for a bit, hoping that they would throw, but they're not going to throw. Immediately switching to my Sylveon here, and they have a Registeel in the back, and I'm like, yeah, no thanks, I'm done here. So, I mean, what are the odds? They have an S-Cavalier and a Registeel in the back. Like I said, this team has no play against Registeel. As soon as you see Registeel, it's like, it's pretty much game over here. So moving into the final battle of the video, let's see if you can pull off a win finally. Again, met with an absolutely terrible lead. This is the third time we've met with a fighter. Or a pseudo fighter. This time this is an actual fighter. Anyways, we bait out the Alolan Muk. This Muk is actually running Poison Jab. So this is actually gives me a little bit of hope because I'm assuming that this is probably their only counter to a Charmer. But I'm going to let the Dark Pulse through here. Once again, bringing in the Glaceon because I don't want to bring in my Sylveon against a Poison Jab Alolan Muk. Going to let whatever this is go through. It is just they bait with Acid Spray, which is good because at this point I'm going to overfarm by 1 and go for the Icy Wind here. This is going to take out the Alolan Muk from this range. And then immediately coming in with my Sylveon, I'm really hoping they are a double weak to Charm in the back, right? Poliwrath is still staying in, so this gives me hope. I'm going to basically shield the Scald because that's going to do a lot of damage. Luckily, we don't get the debuff, and I'm going to try and charm this thing all the way down here. They get to another move. At this point, I'm debating should I shield, but I'm going to commit the shield here because we still have a Glaceon as a potential sack swap. And they have a Giratina in the back. The only Pokemon that we probably could have beaten in a 2-0 shield deficit. And they go for Dragon Claw, definitely not the move to go for because that's double resisted. And we are absolutely loaded. I'm going to go for the Psyshock. I'm basically going to just go Psyshocks here because we could probably still come in with Glaceon and go for the Icy Wind. But they see, as Home Slice Henry would say, they see the writing on the wall and decide to give up the match there. So finally, we managed to win a game in this set. This is like really how this team performs, honestly. Just simply isn't good enough to be completely honest. We get a 1-4 set. But anyways, That was just a lot of fun. Hope you guys had a lot of fun watching me absolutely get destroyed. Luckily, there's no elo this season because this team, if you want to tank, I mean, this is definitely a team that you can probably try out anyways. But I feel like probably Umbreon instead of Espeon or Glaceon would probably make this a little bit more viable. I feel like both only Umbreon and Sylveon are viable Eeveelutions as far as PvP and Go Battle League are concerned. But it's always nice to try out some of the other ones, especially now with their new Comp Day moves as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please do leave a like and subscribe if you want to, if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time.